What if every spice in the world suddenly disappeared? If you're not vegetarian, that could be the end of flavor as we know it, the day every delicious meal vanishes for good. With over 100 spices widely used today, this seemingly small industry is actually a $40 billion empire, reaching into every kitchen, shaping the tastes of billions, and defining the global culinary map. In today's video, join Agriculture Insight as we explore how spices are made, from the most familiar to the most luxurious. What has turned them into an irreplaceable link in the global food supply chain? Let's find out. At our first stop, we begin with chili peppers, a tiny fruit that can make your eyes burn in seconds, yet has captivated billions of people for thousands of years of culinary history. Every year, more than 4 million tons of chili powder are ground across the globe, quietly sustaining a spice industry worth tens of billions of dollars. But that journey doesn't begin in a factory. It starts on autumn mornings in Central Valley, one of the largest paprika-growing regions in the United States, where harvesting chili peppers is, quite literally, a fiery job. In the past, harvesting chili peppers meant farmers had to bend over each row, gently twisting every fruit off the stem to keep the skin intact. But under the scorching sun, they also faced an invisible enemy, capsaicin from the peppers coating their hands and spreading through the air, constantly stinging their eyes and burning their throats. That's why many large farms have switched to specialized chili harvesters. Fields must be planted in straight rows, with flat ground and uniformly ripened crops. The machine shakes the plants so the peppers fall onto a conveyor, then cleans them right on board, working 5 to 10 times faster than hand picking, turning entire red fields into raw material in just a few hours. After leaving the fields, those bright red chili peppers don't go straight into grinding machines. Instead, they enter the stage that defines their flavor, where each batch is sun-dried to preserve its natural vibrant color or smoke-dried over wood to develop a deeper, richer aroma, depending on the unique methods of each producer. Once fully dried under the sun or smoke, the deep red sacks of chili peppers quickly leave the fields and move directly into processing lines, where they are poured into massive hoppers, pass through cleaning systems, and slide into high-speed grinding chambers. After cleaning, the peppers enter high-speed grinding chambers, where rotating shafts or hammer mills operating at high velocity break down the entire structure of the fruit. The brittle outer skins fracture first, followed by the seeds and flesh, which are gradually ground finer through multiple stages. Temperature control is carefully maintained throughout the process to prevent color loss and the evaporation of spicy essential oils. With each pass, particle size is reduced to a uniform consistency, forming a continuous stream of fine red powder flowing through a closed system. In just a matter of minutes, tons of chili peppers are transformed into a consistent chili powder, preserving their deep red color and signature heat, ready for packaging and distribution to global markets. During the Middle Ages, just 1 kilogram of pepper could be enough to trade for a cow. It once functioned as a form of currency in Europe, even used to pay taxes. And today, more than 500,000 tons of black pepper continue to move across the globe each year, powerful enough to shape the map of global trade. Pepper is not grown from seeds, but starts with healthy vine cuttings taken from a mature mother plant, typically 25 to 35 centimeters long and carrying 2 to 3 nodes. These cuttings are selected from plants over 3 years old, then planted in moist, organic, rich soil with humidity maintained at around 85%. After a few weeks, the dormant nodes begin to develop young roots and gradually establish themselves. Each seedling bag is then moved into a greenhouse, where temperature, humidity, and light are controlled with near hourly precision. allowing the plants to adapt and grow uniformly before being exposed to outdoor conditions. Once the vines are strong enough, they are transplanted beside living supports or concrete poles about 3 to 4 meters tall. From here, the pepper vines begin climbing, forming dense green columns that can produce stable yields after 2 to 3 years and continue bearing for the next 15 to 20 years. After about 7 to 9 months of growth on climbing supports, the pepper clusters are still mostly green, but a few berries begin turning yellow, a clear sign that harvest time has arrived. Because the vines can grow tall, farmers must use ladders or climb the supports themselves to pick each cluster by hand. Not due to a lack of machinery, but because a single strong shake could cause hundreds of unripe berries to fall to the ground and lose their value instantly. That seemingly manual precision is what ultimately determines whether the pepper will carry a bold, intense heat or end up as just an ordinary spice. Right after leaving the vines, the heavy sacks of fresh pepper are loaded onto trucks and leave the farm within hours, because if delayed beyond 24 hours, the berries begin to lose color and essential oils. On small farms, pepper is typically spread thinly across concrete yards or large tarps and turned continuously under the sun for 3 to 5 days. Simple, but entirely dependent on weather conditions. On larger plantations, however, the pepper is fed directly into steel receiving hoppers, passes through vibrating screens to remove stems, is washed to eliminate dirt, then moves into thermal treatment chambers before undergoing continuous forced drying in multi-level tower systems. In less than 48 hours, those soft green berries are transformed into tons of uniformly dried black pepper. More than 90% of people have believed that black pepper and white pepper come from different plants, but in reality, they both come from the same vine. The only difference lies in the timing of harvest and how they are processed afterward. In other words, they are simply two time-based versions of the same pepperberry. In contrast to black pepper, producing white pepper requires farmers to wait until the berries are fully ripe and red on the vine, when the outer skin has softened and natural bonds begin to break down, allowing it to be removed more easily and cleanly. As a result, the inner white core retains a deeper heat and a purer aroma. After harvest, ripe pepper is not dried immediately but soaked in water for about 7 to 10 days. During this time, natural microorganisms break down the outer red skin, softening it so it can be removed easily, leaving only the white kernel inside. This process not only cleans the pepper but also shapes its flavor. White pepper is milder, less bitter, yet still carries a deep heat and a distinct fragrance. However, the trade-off is significant. Waiting for full ripeness reduces yield, and the extended processing further lowers output by about 20 to 25%. As a result, white pepper typically costs about twice as much as black pepper on the market. So rare is it that in the United States, white pepper is only produced on a small experimental scale in Hawaii, one of the few places with a tropical climate suitable for producing export-grade pepper. As one of the 3 most expensive spices in the world, ranking just behind saffron and vanilla, cardamom has captivated global cuisine with its cooling taste and refined aroma, earning the title Queen of Spices. Unlike most spice crops, cardamom grows under the shaded canopy of humid tropical forests, more like a semi-wild plant than a typical farm crop. Once mature, these low-growing bushes can produce aromatic pods continuously for up to 15 years. After 3 to 5 years, the first pods appear near ground level and are harvested entirely by hand using small knives or scissors. A single rough pull can split the pods and cause seed loss, instantly reducing their value. Green pods are usually picked early to preserve their bright color and export-quality aroma, while fully ripe red pods are far rarer, often reserved for propagation or specialty uses, as overripe pods can crack open and lose seeds within days. Once harvested, the pods must reach processing facilities within 12 to 24 hours. Any delay leads to rapid loss of essential oils and color. Instead of sun drying, they are dried in temperature-controlled chambers to maintain quality. After drying, the pods are cleaned and graded by size, weight, and color. Only about 15 to 20% meet premium standards, while the rest are used for lower-grade processing or domestic markets. Just an unopened flower bud. Yet in the 16th century, cloves became one of the most powerful spices on earth, driving empires like Portugal and Spain to cross half the globe in a race for control. What made cloves so valuable wasn't just their rarity, but their warm, deep, slightly spicy aroma. Preserving that fragrance, however, requires timing that is precise, almost down to the day. Each harvest season, workers climb clove trees towering 10 to 15 meters high, securing ladders with ropes before hand-picking clusters of tiny buds within a narrow window of about 1 week. Harvest too early, and the essential oils haven't fully developed, resulting in a weaker aroma. Harvest too late, and once the buds begin to bloom, their commercial value drops sharply. Every movement must be exact, because breaking even a single branch can reduce yields for the next 2 to 3 years. After harvesting, the buds are separated from their stems, leaves are removed, and only the rounded heads, richest in essential oils, are kept. They are then sun-dried for about 3 days, turning from green to a distinctive golden brown. Too little or too much sunlight can darken the buds, degrade the oils, and immediately lower their value. That's why right after leaving the farm, high-quality buds are often transferred to industrial drying systems with controlled temperatures, reducing moisture to around 10 to 12%, locking in the precious oils that once drove entire empires across the oceans to claim them. And now we arrive at the king of spices, and also the most expensive spice in the world today, saffron, a national treasure of Iran. With prices often ranging from several thousand to nearly $10,000 per kilogram, saffron's value comes down to 3 core factors: entirely manual harvesting, extremely low yields, and a processing method that demands near-perfect precision. The saffron harvest lasts only about 6 weeks each year. During this brief window, farmers begin work at dawn and finish before midday, when strong sunlight can quickly wilt the flowers and degrade the delicate flavor compounds inside. Every strand of saffron is harvested by hand. Each flower is carefully plucked and placed into breathable baskets rather than sealed bags, because even slight compression or heat buildup can reduce quality almost immediately. Despite generating immense export value, the workforce, largely women in rural regions of Iran, often earns no more than around $5 per day for this highly meticulous and labor-intensive work. After harvesting, the purple flowers are quickly transported to processing facilities to prevent bruising. There, they are spread out in a dry, well-ventilated environment away from direct sunlight to preserve quality before entering the most critical stage, stigma separation. Each flower is opened by hand to reveal 3 deep red stigmas, the only part kept to produce saffron. This seemingly simple task is extremely labor-intensive. A skilled worker can extract about 600 stigmas per hour, meaning it takes roughly 40 hours of meticulous work to produce just 1 kilogram of high-quality saffron. To reach that amount, around 150,000 flowers must be harvested, an enormous raw material ratio that has earned saffron the nickname red gold. The red stigmas are then dried at low temperatures, reducing up to 80% of their moisture while preserving their color and distinctive aroma. Once dried, they shrink into fine thread-like strands, the final product ready for packaging and export to global markets. Beyond its complex production and limited supply, saffron is prized in cuisine and traditional medicine for its mood-enhancing effects antioxidant benefits, and support for better sleep. It adds a rich golden color and signature aroma to premium dishes with a slightly bitter taste followed by a warm, lingering fragrance. Did you know that one of the most popular sauces in the world was once nearly thrown away because of its unpleasant taste? Officially commercialized in the 19th century, Worcestershire sauce began as a mixture of salted anchovies, vinegar, and herbs. Made from an Indian-inspired recipe but using English ingredients, the initial batch was harsh, pungent, and unbalanced. So much so that it was rejected and stored away in a dark cellar out of sight. But after nearly 2 years of being forgotten, that very process of aging created an unexpected turning point. What was once considered a disaster transformed into a rich, well-balanced sauce, combining sourness, saltiness, and deep umami, becoming an essential highlight in dishes like steak, burgers, and Caesar salad today. The core of this flavor system begins with anchovies that are salted and left to naturally break down over 18 months. During this process, enzymes break proteins into free amino acids, creating a concentrated level of umami that industrial flavor enhancers struggle to replicate. At the same time, onions and garlic are soaked in malt vinegar, a vinegar made from fermented barley, carrying warm, deep notes similar to a light beer. Here, the vinegar not only acts as a preservative, but also functions as an extraction solvent, while softening sulfur compounds and transforming them into more mellow layers of aroma. Once the ingredients have reached their biological maturity, the process moves into a critical stage where the entire flavor system is unified. First, onions and garlic are transferred into large industrial tanks along with salted anchovies, the core components responsible for the sauce's rich natural umami concentration. Next, a system of pumps introduces tamarind extract and molasses, two elements that shape the sauce's bright acidity and deep sweetness while also giving it its characteristic brown color. The mixture is then stirred using industrial agitators at a speed of 15 revolutions per minute, slow enough to preserve the natural structure, yet consistent enough to evenly disperse flavor molecules throughout the entire volume. Within this environment, flavor compounds begin to interact at a molecular level, forming a cohesive structure where everything merges into a deep, rounded, and stable flavor base over time. After 24 to 36 months, the mixture is high-pressure filtered, removing most solids and leaving a clear, dark brown liquid rich in umami that enhances saltiness and prolongs flavor. A standard bottle takes nearly 3 years to develop, yet sells for just $5.8 because the ingredients are cheap, while the real value lies in time and fermentation control. On the flavor spectrum, if Worcestershire sauce is a blended system of flavors, then soy sauce, an apex of microbial control, is created entirely through fermentation. Each year, hundreds of millions of liters are consumed in the United States, yet few realize that behind its popularity lies a tightly controlled microbial ecosystem, where billions of microorganisms transform soybeans into a liquid rich in hundreds of flavor compounds, capable of neutralizing even the strongest odors from meat to seafood. The process begins with raw material preparation, where the difference between premium soy sauce and mass-produced varieties is defined from the very start. Soybeans are carefully selected and steamed under high pressure to break down cell structures and release internal proteins, while wheat is roasted at around 107 to 180 degrees Celsius and then finely ground. This roasting process generates precursor flavor compounds, laying the foundation for the natural amber brown color and characteristic aroma without the need for any caramel coloring. Immediately after, the mixture is inoculated with Aspergillus oryzae to form koji, the key stage that defines the entire flavor foundation. Within 48 to 72 hours, enzymes break down proteins into umami-rich amino acids while converting starches into sugars, building the base for aroma and aftertaste. Once matured, koji is mixed with brine to form moromi and enters a fermentation phase lasting months to years, where production differences begin to emerge. In Japan, moromi is aged in deep underground pits, where stable temperatures and native microbial communities create complex layers of flavor, with manual stirring to support natural development. In contrast, in the United States, stainless steel tanks tightly control every variable, producing a highly consistent flavor at scale. This fermentation process, lasting from 6 months to 2 years, allows bacteria, yeast, and enzymes to transform the mixture until the flavor reaches a balanced, deep, and stable state. Once fermentation is complete, moromi is spread into layers of filter cloth, folded thick, and stacked in a pressing frame before being subjected to hydraulic pressure of about 2 to 4 bar. After 6 to 12 hours, the first drops of raw soy sauce begin to separate, while the solid residue is retained and compressed between the cloth layers. Although many chefs use soy sauce as a way to reduce salt thanks to its ability to enhance flavor, it still contains around 900 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium per tablespoon. Therefore, only a small amount is needed to boost taste. Overuse can not only throw off the balance of a dish, but also put strain on the cardiovascular system. If soy sauce represents the pinnacle of molecular fermentation, then Dijon mustard stands as a testament to the power of instant chemical reactions. Although it is a symbol of French cuisine, the heart of this industry has surged in North America, with Canada supplying up to 80% of the world's mustard seeds. With a global market size of around $2.5 billion, Dijon is positioned as a premium condiment capable of elevating even the simplest dishes with minimal calories. The key difference behind Dijon's reputation lies in its use of unripe grape juice, known as verjuice, instead of regular white vinegar. The natural acidity of green grapes is milder than vinegar, helping to stabilize the pungency while creating a cleaner, more refined finish. The process begins with thoroughly cleaning black mustard seeds to remove all impurities before moving into wet grinding with green grape juice. Here, the friction from grinding not only breaks down the seed structure, but also activates the enzyme myrosinase. This is the critical moment when the enzyme interacts with compounds inside the seeds to release allyl isothiocyanate, the compound responsible for the sharp nose-tingling heat. To preserve these sensitive essential oils, the grinding system is kept below 40 degrees Celsius, preventing degradation from excessive heat. To achieve the smooth texture considered the gold standard, the ground mixture is passed through a high-speed centrifugal filtration system. The intense centrifugal force removes coarse seed husks and fibers, leaving only the finest paste with a natural sheen, without the need for chemical emulsifiers. The final result is a condiment with a uniform structure and sharp pungency, capable of cutting through the richness of grilled meats or serving as the foundation for premium vinaigrettes. Priced at around $5 to $8 per jar, consumers are not just paying for raw ingredients, but for a precise chemical craft that transforms humble mustard seeds from Canadian fields into one of the most powerful condiments on the Western table. While many sauces improve with time through fermentation, guacamole is one of the most delicate divas in the world of condiments. After just about 5 minutes of exposure to air, avocados begin to oxidize, turning from vibrant green to dull brown and losing their freshness. So how do you preserve that freshness in a sauce that remains creamy, rich, and slightly tangy, an essential element in dishes like tacos or nachos. It all begins with Hass avocados, known for their high-fat content, smooth texture, and stability, making them ideal for guacamole. These avocados are harvested at the peak of physiological ripeness, when their oil content is optimal, then quickly transported under controlled temperatures to maintain freshness before processing. At the factory, an advanced sensor-based camera system scans every millimeter of the fruit's flesh, removing even the smallest imperfections to ensure the highest possible purity of the raw ingredients. The key lies in the blending stage. By completely forcing oxygen out, the avocado is mixed with onions, chili, and lime juice without triggering any unwanted chemical reactions. The mixture is then immediately sealed into specialized flexible pouches under vacuum, creating a physical barrier that isolates it entirely from the environment. However, the real magic happens in the final step, high-pressure processing. The avocado pouches are placed into a sealed water chamber where pressure is rapidly increased to 6,000 bar. To put that into perspective, this is equivalent to the pressure at a depth of 60 kilometers beneath the ocean, 6 times deeper than the Mariana Trench. At this level, the cell membranes of bacteria, molds, and spoilage enzymes are completely destroyed. Remarkably, because the pressure is applied evenly from all directions and without heat, the chemical bonds responsible for vitamins, color, and the creamy texture of avocado remain intact. The result is guacamole that can retain its fresh, just-picked taste for over 40 days, without the need for any chemical preservatives. If China is the world's pork production engine, then the United States is the king of consumption, a place where bacon, ham, and pepperoni never go out of style. Despite warnings about colorectal cancer risks, estimates show that by 2025, Americans consumed around 6.2 million tons of processed pork. On average, each person eats nearly 19 kilograms per year, an enormous amount, enough to practically fill the Grand Canyon if stacked continuously for 12 straight months. This irresistible appeal isn't accidental. Compared to beef, pork contains up to 1.5 times more fat and moisture, creating the signature tenderness, juiciness, and rich flavor found in ham, bacon, and sausages. To understand this fascination, we'll follow the journey of pork farming and processing, a complex chain stretching from the farm all the way to modern industrial production lines. The journey begins at Berkshire Pig Farms, a black pig breed renowned for its ability to produce intramuscular marbling, making it a strategic choice. These pigs are raised free-range on expansive pastures spanning hundreds of hectares, moving between designated grazing plots. During each grazing session, the herd forages while rooting the soil, returning organic manure, improving soil structure, activating microbial systems, and enhancing the pasture's moisture retention. The Berkshire diet combines native grasses, protein-rich legumes, grains, and agricultural byproducts, promoting muscle growth while preserving their ability to develop marbling. Thanks to ample exercise and slow natural growth, their fat penetrates deep into the meat rather than accumulating under the skin, resulting in tender, juicy, and flavorful pork, the very reason this breed is prized in the premium meat segment. Leaving the farm, the pigs enter the transportation system, a crucial link that determines both meat quality and the stability of this billion-dollar supply chain. To reduce stress and prevent injuries, specialized vehicles are equipped with non-slip sloped floors, straw bedding that absorbs shocks, and continuously circulating airflow. Temperature, humidity, and toxic gas sensors operate 24/7, ensuring that each journey delivers the pigs to the processing plant without carrying pathogens or biosecurity risks. And from here, the journey enters the most fascinating stage, where the planet's most widely consumed protein is reshaped inside modern processing lines. At the plant, premium Berkshire pigs enter a fully closed system, with each carcass carefully broken down into shoulder, ham, belly, and loin. High-quality cuts ready to be transformed into crispy bacon, aromatic ham, spicy pepperoni, or convenient canned meat. Here, advanced technology meets skilled craftsmanship, delivering top-tier flavors straight from the farm to the dining table. As one of the largest-scale pork products globally, ham has become a cash cow for the processing industry, generating up to $100 billion annually from the hind leg muscles, cuts with a balanced lean-to-fat ratio and excellent muscle structure. Before processing, the meat is trimmed of tendons and connective tissue and cut into small pieces in preparation for grinding. The meat is then moderately ground and thoroughly mixed with seasonings, creating a rich flavor while maintaining a smooth, lump-free texture. Once the mixture reaches the ideal consistency and thickness, it moves on to the shaping stage. In industrial lines using plastic casings, vacuum stuffing machines remove air bubbles before filling the meat, producing ham that is firm, smooth, and free of voids. With metal molds, the mixture is compressed tightly, forming a uniform block and eliminating air pockets, that ensuring a perfect texture for the final product. Immediately after stuffing and shaping, the ham blocks are transferred into cooking ovens to cook evenly, preserving both flavor and moisture. They are then cooled to stabilize the internal structure and removed from the molds, forming complete blocks, ready for the final finishing stage. Finally, the ham blocks go through automatic slicing machines, cut into thin slices just 1–2 millimeters thick. This thickness maximizes surface area, releases aroma more effectively, and ensures a tender bite when served cold. After slicing, the product is vacuum-packed or stored in protective gas environments, ready to appear on deli counters, especially in Europe, the market with the deepest and longest-standing ham consumption in the world. Meanwhile, on a different production line, bacon's treasure lies in the pork belly, a cut that accounts for only about 15% of the carcass weight, yet features the signature cross-section of alternating fat and lean layers that run continuously through the meat. The selected belly meat is then cured, primarily using a wet curing method. A brine solution is prepared in a precise ratio, combining salt, sugar, and spice extracts to balance saltiness and sweetness while stabilizing the meat's color. Multi-needle stainless steel injection systems pump the solution directly into the muscle tissue with controlled depth and needle density, ensuring the seasoning penetrates evenly throughout the meat, not just on the surface. After curing, the meat is hung on racks and placed into smoking chambers, where temperatures are typically maintained between 50 to 70 degrees Celsius to cook the meat gradually without melting the fat. Smoke from woods such as hickory, oak, or apple imparts distinctive aromatic compounds while lightly drying the surface, helping the bacon achieve a stable color and long-lasting smoky flavor. Smoking times can range from a few hours to over 20 hours, depending on the recipe. After smoking, each piece of bacon is removed from the racks and passed through pressing machines to achieve a uniform thickness, making it easier to feed into the slicers. Following smoking, bacon is sliced by automated systems equipped with stainless steel blades, allowing thickness to be controlled down to the millimeter. On modern production lines, output can reach thousands of slices per hour, while maintaining consistency in size, fat-to-lean ratio, and smooth surface finish. From here, bacon becomes the flavor catalyst for any dish. Just 5 to 10 grams paired with a burger or eggs is enough to boost umami and richness, as the melting fat carries saltiness and smoky aroma across the palate. Next, we move on to pepperoni, the fermented sausage made from carefully selected back, shoulder, and belly cuts, destined to become the soul of millions of pizzas. The blended meat is passed through industrial grinders to achieve a uniform particle size of 3 to 5 millimeters, coarse enough to retain visible fat grains, yet fine enough to ensure even cooking, stable shaping, and sharp slices. Immediately afterward, the ground meat is transferred to industrial mixers to incorporate fermenting microorganisms and spices. Plants typically use lactic acid bacteria strains at extremely low densities per gram of mixture, precisely controlling the fermentation process. Dry spices are added along with concentrated liquid paprika, stabilizing the characteristic red color and developing the familiar mild spiciness. The entire mixture is mixed for 2 to 5 minutes at low speed, just enough to distribute ingredients evenly without disrupting the meat's protein network. The mixed meat is then transferred to stuffing machines for shaping. The meat is pumped into sausage casings with precise weights for each segment, and the links are automatically twisted to form uniform chains of pepperoni. These chains are hung on conveyor lines, keeping the surface exposed to air and creating optimal conditions for biochemical reactions and subsequent heat treatment. From there, the pepperoni enters fermentation chambers, where controlled temperature and humidity activate the lactic acid bacteria, gradually lowering the pH to the ideal level and developing its distinct fermented flavor. Once this threshold is reached, the chamber settings are adjusted to inhibit further bacterial activity while lightly smoking the sausages with natural wood, finalizing both the flavor and the surface color. Next, the pepperoni is heated to fully cook, fixing the protein structure and establishing the desired firmness. Using high-speed rotary slicers, the finished product is cut into ultra-thin slices, often less than 2 millimeters, optimizing quick heat transfer, even fat melting, and the signature curling edges when baked on pizza. Completing the process, the dried pepperoni is fed into industrial pizza topping lines, where each deep red, fatty slice retains stability during baking, spreading a balanced, salty, fatty, spicy flavor across the pizza. This is especially notable in Domino's pepperoni pizzas, a product line that has shaken the global pizza market, selling millions of slices every day. At the final stop of today's journey, there's Spam, a product so ubiquitous over its 80-plus-year history that its name has become synonymous with canned meat. But do you know what truly gives each can its distinctive texture and flavor? The journey begins when shoulder cuts are sent through industrial grinders at a controlled coarse level. Rather than pulverizing the meat completely, the grinding preserves the muscle fiber structure, creating a block that is both cohesive and retains the sensation of whole meat, a key difference that sets Spam apart from sausages. Next, the ground meat is transferred to the mixing area, where Spam's core recipe is applied. The ingredients include pork shoulder, salt, sugar, water, potato starch, and sodium nitrite. Salt extracts muscle proteins to create binding, sugar balances flavor, starch stabilizes the structure during heating, and nitrite controls microbial growth while preserving the signature pink color. The entire mixing process takes place in a chilled environment to minimize protein denaturation and ensure a uniform mixture before shaping. The mixed meat is then filled directly into metal cans with precise portioning, vacuum sealed, and hermetically closed to remove oxygen, reduce oxidation, and prepare for heat treatment. Immediately afterward, the cans are sent into a high-pressure steaming system and cooked for about 75 minutes, fully cooking the meat while eliminating harmful microorganisms, allowing the product to be safely preserved long-term without added preservatives. At the same time, the heat causes the proteins to coagulate, fixing a firm and uniform structure inside the can. Finally, the cans are rapidly cooled, cleaned, quality checked, and labeled with Spam's signature navy blue can and yellow lettering before being packed for global distribution. From the original pork shoulder, this process creates a canned product with a stable texture, consistent flavor, and a presence in over 40 countries worldwide. Did you know that canned tuna is the most consumed seafood in the United States, surpassing both salmon and shrimp, with annual consumption reaching nearly 1 million tons? Less glamorous on the dinner table, canned tuna is nonetheless a silent protein backbone, supported by a vast industrial fishing and processing system that stretches across the world's oceans. From May through September, a single tuna fishing vessel can land up to 2,000 tons of fish in just one voyage lasting several weeks. Fishing activities are concentrated in major grounds across the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans, where tuna migrate along ocean currents to stay close to energy-rich prey such as small fish, squid, and crustaceans. Among harvesting methods, purse seining plays a dominant role in supplying skipjack tuna for the canning industry. Once a school is detected, via sonar, seabird activity, or positioning data, the vessel deploys a net that encircles the fish and then cinches the bottom closed, capturing the entire school within a short time. Many modern fleets also deploy reconnaissance helicopters, extending visual coverage across ocean areas spanning thousands of square kilometers. The moment tuna leave the sea, they undergo initial processing and are immediately chilled to preserve muscle structure and slow enzymatic activity. From this point on, speed becomes critical. The fish must reach processing plants as quickly as possible, because once quality begins to decline, no downstream process can restore it. At the factory, tuna is processed while still frozen, without thawing. Industrial cutting machines operate at 20 to 40 degrees Celsius, allowing precise cuts without damaging muscle tissue. Frozen cutting helps preserve muscle fibers, reduce moisture loss and discoloration, and lower microbial contamination risk by up to 80%. After cleaning, the fish is transferred to large industrial steam cookers. These systems are precisely temperature controlled to handle tons of fish per batch. Steaming is not intended to simply cook the fish, but to soften connective tissue, making the meat easier to separate from the bones in the next stage while retaining moisture and natural flavor. After steaming, the tuna enters the meat separation stage, the clearest moment of transformation from a whole fish into the canned tuna consumers recognize. At this point, heat has softened the connective tissue without breaking down the muscle fibers, creating ideal conditions for separating the meat from bones and skin without damaging its structure. The fish is transferred to a manual picking area where workers use bare hands or thin gloves to feel each muscle strand directly. Large bones, pin bones, skin, and any meat that fails to meet standards for color or firmness are removed, leaving only clean, uniform meat, the foundation of high-quality canned tuna. This is also the most labor-intensive stage of the entire process, as precision depends heavily on touch and experience. Once the tuna meat has been precisely portioned into each can, the product enters the final preservation stage. At this point, every can is filled with a liquid tailored to its product line: brine to preserve the natural flavor, vegetable oil to enhance softness and richness, or proprietary sauces that define brand identity. The cans then move immediately into an automated sealing system, where metal lids are placed and crimped shut under precisely controlled pressure. The moment the lid is sealed is also the moment the tuna becomes completely isolated from the outside environment. Air is removed, microorganisms are locked out, a condition that allows canned tuna to last for months, even years, while maintaining stable texture and flavor as if freshly processed. Finally, the sealed cans are transferred to high-pressure steam sterilization systems, where they are treated at 121 degrees Celsius for 60 to 90 minutes to eliminate bacteria, mold, and spoilage enzymes. After sterilization, the cans are rapidly cooled, inspected to FDA standards, labeled, and distributed through retail channels. Few people realize that beyond the domestic market, US-branded canned tuna is exported to more than 50 countries worldwide, from the Middle East and Latin America to overseas military bases and emergency food reserves. In these contexts, canned tuna becomes a cornerstone of food logistics, stable, safe, and capable of sustaining human life during crisis. Before becoming smoked salmon on supermarket shelves, salmon are harvested under tightly controlled conditions at sea, where meat quality is largely determined in advance. In the North Atlantic and North Pacific, salmon are caught when water temperatures are around 5 to 8 degrees Celsius, allowing the subcutaneous fat to remain semi-solid and evenly distributed along the muscle fibers. This creates the salmon's smooth richness and slow-melting texture after smoking. If harvested in warmer waters, the fat oxidizes rapidly, resulting in a less clean smoke flavor. In large-scale fisheries, gill nets are preferred over bottom trawls. Each vessel typically lands around 40 tons per trip, but this trade-off significantly reduces biological stress. When fish struggle intensely or experience prolonged oxygen deprivation, lactic acid builds up quickly, causing the flesh to soften, release moisture, and lose elasticity within about 3 hours, even if the fish has already been chilled. Whether sourced from wild capture or offshore aquaculture, salmon ultimately converge at processing plants within 48 hours of leaving the water, a critical window for preserving fat structure and the natural elasticity of the muscle fibers. After the head is removed, the body is fed into industrial filleting machines that split the fish lengthwise along the backbone. The blades are precisely aligned to run parallel to the primary muscle fibers, producing 2 fillets of nearly uniform thickness. A standard filleting line can process 1 to 2 tons of fish per hour, forming a crucial foundation that determines the consistency of the finished product. Next, the fillets undergo removal of the backbone and major rib bones using knives. Despite mechanical assistance, this step still requires manual precision to address each bone junction accurately. If the main bones are not cleanly removed, the fillet surface becomes uneven, causing uneven distribution of salt and smoke during curing. Immediately afterward, the fillets pass through a recirculating cold water washing system. The goal is not aggressive cleaning, but to remove residual blood, slime, and bone fragments. Water temperature is kept low to avoid activating protein-degrading enzymes. Premium fillets, uniform orange in color, with clearly defined fat lines and no bruising, are cured with dry salt or a salt-sugar blend at about 2 to 3% of the fish's weight, then laid on ventilated racks for 24 hours to lock in the flesh structure. During this time, salt draws water out of the muscle tissue, causing proteins to contract and bind more tightly. The surface becomes firm yet elastic, allowing the fish to hold its shape, absorb smoke evenly, and minimize moisture loss during smoking. Fillets are then transferred to the smoking chamber, either laid flat on racks or hung to allow smoke to circulate evenly around the fish and keep fat distribution stable along the muscle fibers. Smoke is generated from oak wood under controlled combustion to avoid flare-ups, while chamber temperatures are adjusted by product type, low for cold-smoked salmon, higher for hot-smoked. Throughout this process, aromatic compounds in the smoke dissolve into the surface fats and proteins, becoming an integral part of the flavor structure rather than a superficial coating.